Good morning, good evening, and good day, Croissant, and welcome to Flexy Fridays, your weekly roundup of the world of music as we perceive it to be here in sunny Wrexham, where today we are joined by Steve Nixon of Warrington-based rock trio Havoc 51. Hello, Steve, and how is it going?
Hello, everything's great, thanks. That's my loud enough. How are you?
I'm doing good myself. Always nice to hear my guests are in high spirits. So, why don't you start by telling us a bit about your personal role within Havoc 51?
Right, I'm the mouthpiece basically. We're a trio. We have Paul on drums, Anthony on the bass, and I do all the guitaring and probably 75% of the singing.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, how did Havoc 51 actually come into being?
It's a funny story, really. Anthony, where was going through university doing music theory and sound engineering and everything else, and they were playing gigs as part of the syllabus to get his degree. And we'd all go and see and have a look at it. We'd all clap and it'll be very nice. And we are having a chat later on, and we thought that, when you're doing that in front of your friends, they're always going to be kind and they're always going to be very positive. So, what do you actually learn doing that? So, we decided, because I've been doing music for a long time at various levels of success. Let's go out. Let's go and do with an invisible drummer, and let's go out and do some gigs in the real world and get some positive feedback or negative feedback onto that from people in the real world. We did it, and it was very successful very quickly. We replaced the backing noises with five musicians, and we went out as a three-piece. For lots of reasons, it gives us a bit more time to just think about it. Secondly, the money divides by three instead of four and five, which is always a lot better. So we did that, and again, we got successful again doing what we were doing. So we went and recorded probably about 8 or 9 songs just to see how they go. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. Off the back of that, we got invited to do Hard Rock Live in Manchester. And we went and came second by 1 point. So we thought we've got something here. So we did really well straight off. We'd not had a negative time with it. We changed drummers back in 2018, just before the release of our first album. And it's still going very well. We're doing pubs and clubs. But we're up to all sorts, and the music is doing really well.
Nice one. So, how long have you actually been active as a band?
In our current lineup, we've been active since probably 2018. We probably did it 12 months before that, but since 2018, certainly, when we recorded and released Bourbon Ramblings back in June 2018.
Okay, so I noticed that yourself and bassist Anthony Nixon share the same surname. So is there any family connection there, or is that just pure coincidence?
Just a little bit. Anthony, when we go out gigging, he's my younger brother. But in reality, he's my lad. So
Oh,
we do this, and that's the reason for everything getting together was to help him out with his degree in music theory, and he just carried on from there. But
okay.
yeah, it's nice because we do have a chemistry that I don't see other bands having.
Okay, so that is some family connection within Havoc 51. One thing I must admit that I am curious to know is what is significant about the number 51 in the name Havoc 51? Is that a random number or does it have some meaning to the band?
We get asked this quite a lot, and and generally what we try and do is come up with different reasons to why we're called Havoc 51. We researched it, and there was an American warship in the Second World War with the name Havoc 51, which we had no idea about. So sometimes we use that story, sometimes we use other ones, but generally it was out of laziness. We recorded a song as part of our initial tracks for the first album, and we did one called Cry Havoc, which didn't make the cut. It wasn't suitable for the first album. It was for the so we liked that track, we liked the name, and we thought, right, let's call ourselves Havoc. We did a Google search. I thought, oh, now there's 50 of them. So what should we do? Should we either sit down there and come up with something else, or should we just be number 51? So that was what we ended up doing. It's entirely out of laziness. Should we think of something else, or we just say we're 51 and go to the pub? That's really, it's nothing more complicated than that.
No, I quite like the thought process behind that. So back in 2018, you released the 9-track album Bourbon Ramblings. How long was this project in the works for?
It's a collection of things we did. Bourbon Ramblings was a mixture of songs that we'd done either for previous bands or for other people or for just for our own fun. We put them down. We got a collection of 9 tracks that we think worked. We went and recorded them. So it spans a long time, but it comes to a focal point, a collection point that all came together for the purpose of us putting the first release out. Bourbon Ramblings, the title track, was in the studio over the period that we recorded it. We recorded it quite quickly because we've known these songs for a long while, but certainly the title track was written on the fly when we were there, and that's when we do live, which is does us very well.
Okay. And have you released any music since Bourbon Ramblings?
We did in November 2020. We released "Carry On, Carrying On," which we, as a rock band, we try and do things a little differently. And what I mean by that is we're not one of these bands that all talked about all the your Grammy and all that nonsense. Relate to that, having a good laugh with your friends and good times and memories and all the rest of it. So we did Carry On, Carrying On that theme of the Carry On films. We did videos and the album cover and everything else, all just to do with laughing and having a good time with it. So we released Carry On, Carrying On back in November 2020. We've had 2 singles from that. Cry Havoc eventually made this album and was released and did really well. It's sold probably in the region between 15 and 20,000 copies. Has been played globally and is still getting played globally now. It's doing really well for us. We followed that up with a subsequent, which didn't do as well, but still very, very fortunate to have the success we carried on doing.
Oh yeah, definitely. So it's pretty safe to say that your music has been pretty well received since these releases then.
We seem to be. We tend to try and back that up. Obviously, the live situation's been difficult, and certainly when we released this in the middle of 2020, it was impossible. But the music has been very well received. We're played on stations, as I said, all over the world, and continually, both the album and the singles. And it's resulted in us getting more and more airplay. It's resulted us in getting better standard of gigs throughout. And we're all coming back, and it's working. It's a slow process, but it works.
Yeah, just sticking to the grind. Okay, so we have talked a bit about Cry Havoc earlier on in this interview, which we will be getting to take a listen to later on. But right now, I would like to introduce our audience to your sound with the other tune you sent over. So this right here from Havoc 51 is a tune called Young Innocent Love, taken from their 2020 release, Carry On, Carrying On. I hope you enjoy this.
She never wanted
You have just heard Young Innocent Love, an original composition by Havoc 51, and today on Flexy Fridays, we are joined by Steve Nixon, who is here to represent the Warrington-based rock trio Havoc 51. So, Steve, as an independent band who have remained active on the scene for as long as Havoc 51 have, do you have any advice for other independent artists who may be struggling to get gigs or recognition at the early stages in their career?
Yeah, absolutely. My first response to that is generally pack it in, don't bother. And that's a response I've got from somebody else. And I asked, well, hang on a minute, what do you mean? Why pack it in? It's because the people who aren't serious at it, the people who are doing it for a laugh or a hobby or don't want to further themselves, will pack it in. Anybody who is serious and is determined and got some music that they believe in will say, no, it's not for you, pal. I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to do it. So that's where that comes from. But encountering it in a lot more detail. Remember, the music business is two words, and treat both of those words equally. If there are ways of getting your music into places, there are ways of getting votes in competitions, if there are ways of record companies or talking radio stations, or getting on playlists by whatever means, then and have a go at it. Treat the business side the same as you do the music side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's some pretty solid advice right there. So when and where was the most recent gig that you have played as Havoc 51?
We're just getting back into it now after the pandemic. So we've done a couple locally. We were in, I'm trying to think where we were. We were in Warrington last weekend, just gone. I'm trying to think where we were the weekend before that, but we're certainly within local, within the Northwest. We're coming down to the Wirral this weekend into a lovely place called the Halfway House. And hopefully when Wales opens, we've got lots of people that we want to go and play in front of down there. One thing I did want to mention is that we are affiliated with Gig Buddies in Wales.
Okay.
Giggy Owl, Frindy Owl, or Frindy Owl, Giggy Owl, one of them, I think it is, run by a wonderful lady called Rachel. And what she does, she takes children with mental abuse, children with limiting conditions, and she talks to the bands and the band's fans and see if we can get these people in and to meet us and to do all sorts of things. Just having said that, we did something similar. We were in Hyde at a bikers function the weekend before. We did something for a lad with ADHD, which was really very nice today.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to hear about bands and musicians getting involved in things like that. Yeah. So, what is your preferred type of gig? Do you prefer to play venues and pubs, or are you more of a festival fanatic?
The festivals are good for your ego. Festivals are big, it's like crowds. It's nice, everybody's there to see you, and it's a really good atmosphere. Certainly some of the best gigs we've had have been at. And the other good thing as well is everything's provided for you. You just turn up there, do your 3/4 hour slot, get paid the same and go home. It's just really easy, well organised and everything else. However, having said that, I do like the pubs and clubs because you get an honest reaction. We get to control our own sound and lights. And when it's, I don't know what it's from our point of view, when that's out of our control, sometimes it isn't. We like to be complete. And we love playing for hours on end. So doing festival slots is quite limited, but if we can go out there and do a couple of hours to somebody, then it's much better. But there's pluses and minuses with both. Yeah, the festivals are great for your confidence, and festivals are great to boost you going forward quicker in front of a larger audience. You reach more. But the bread and butter stuff of getting out and lifting the gear and at the end of the night, whether they like you or not, is wonderful. You can't beat that. It's real.
What has been a personal highlight for yourself from your time in Havoc 51?
There's a couple. Really, I think for the first one, the main one is we're from Warrington. We're mad rugby league fanatics. We got to perform on the middle of the pitch at the Halliwell Jones Stadium game to about 15,000 people. And that was absolutely wonderful. We've been there a few times since, doing smaller things in parts of the stadium and parts of stands and functions and things. But to be on the pitch in front of 15,000 who really got into it was wonderful. We've done something similar size, about 8,000 people in Wales on the beach in Llandudno, which was just fantastic. Funnily enough, there's less nerves on the bigger gigs than there is on the smaller ones.
Okay, yeah. I suppose, yeah, in a way it's less intimate, sort of.
I think it is, and it is, yeah. And once you get into it, once you got the first 3 minutes out of the way, then you can relax and get into it. You know you're putting on a show. You've got a bit more room to move. You've got a bit more time to play and a bit more better interaction with the audience on the larger ones.
Well, before we wrap up the interview, we have got to make time for our audience to hear Cry Havoc. This next tune was initially released as a single and subsequently included on the Carry On Carrying On album, which along with Bourbon Ramblings can be streamed on Spotify. So enjoy this next tune. This is Havoc 51 with Cry Havoc. That was Cry Havoc from Havoc 51, and we are joined today by Steve Nixon, who is representing the Warrington-based rock trio today on Flexy Fridays. So, what can we expect to see from Havoc 51 in 2022?
Well, now that most of the restrictions are being lifted, we are getting back into it. We've got a few dozen gigs, smaller nature, which we're going to be doing, and the festival dates will be out soon. We've got some regular ones that we love to do, and we're hoping to add a few new ones on there. On recording side, we've got 4 songs recorded, ready to go. Whether they make the cut for album, which we'll have later on this year. But we're busy writing the balance of that as well. So we will have new musical available probably towards the autumn, which we'll test out at the festivals in the summer. But yeah, that should be coming through.
Nice one. So plenty of gigs and new music to look forward to over the coming year. So where can our audience stay up to date on what Havoc 51 has going on online?
We're on the usual places. The main website, www.havoc51.com, has everything from dates to all access to our videos and everything else, and photo galleries that you don't see anywhere else. We're very active on social media, so we've got Facebook page, facebook.com/Havoc51, and Twitter, same again, /Havoc51. We put plenty of things on there, and certainly the Facebook page and the Twitter pages are where you're likely to see clips from live events, because people like to put them on.
Okay, nice one. I'll be sure to link the relevant online sources within the description to this video for any of our audience members who may want to stay up to date with Havoc 51, as I'm no doubt there's going to be some people watching this and they're going to want to hear more.
Possibly dozens.
Yeah, let's hope so. Now, before we wrap up this episode of Flexy Fridays, do you have any final words you would like to leave with our audience today?
Same as always, thank you for the opportunity of doing this interview today. We really appreciate your time and your support. For anybody who wants to get in touch with us, website will give you full details. We receive emails quite often as well, asking for bits and pieces. See us down at the gigs. We've got t-shirts and CDs, which we don't tend to sell when we're at gigs. We tend to give them away. So come and see us, come and say hello, and nice to meet everybody.
Awesome. Many thanks to our guest on the show today, Steve Nixon, frontman of the Warrington-based rock trio Havoc 51. Be sure to stay up to date on everything they have going on in the future. And many thanks going out to our audience as well. We really hope you are enjoying the podcast so far as much as we are enjoying meeting all these great artists and giving you an introduction to their sound. This broadcast has been brought to you by Flexy Records, Wrexham's own independent record label, and we will be back next week. But if you can't wait until then, be sure to check out the Flexy Records link tree in the description to this video to stay up to date on what we have going on outside of the podcast. And until next week, ciao for now!